Have you tried turning it off and on again? Hello, so today I'm going to show you some useful commands in PowerShell to mostly diagnose and troubleshoot your network. Because, let's be real, most of the time it's a lot of diagnosing and troubleshooting and not so much maybe configuring your network. So this will be some nice PowerShell commands, and most commands from CMD works in PowerShell but not the other way around, so we're going to stick with PowerShell this time. So I will go to my terminal and open it up. Here we have it, and let's start by clearing it. Okay, so the first command I'm going to show you is called Test-NetConnection. If we do a tab here, we can see the whole syntax. And after that we can type, for example, google.com. So this will do a network test, mostly a ping ICMP protocol towards google.com. And we can see we get a reply that is ping succeeded true, and we also get the MS, so the reply time. If we want to do, for example, towards a specific port, we can also do that. And this time we can actually use the alias, which is TNC, then google.com. And if we add the flag port, and for example we can try 443, which is the default port for HTTPS. And as you know, google.com, it's indeed a web server, so it should reply on this port. And we can see, for the remote port 443, we have a TCP test succeeded true. So this was not a ping, this was actually a TCP test on port 443. So this is super useful if you want to see if a remote server, for example, is listening on a specific port. Maybe a consultant has set up a service and they say, well, this you can reach it on this and this port, and maybe the service is not set up properly and not listening on the port, so it's kind of good for that. We can also do an example for, we can check on port 22, the SSH port, and I doubt that this port is actually open for google.com, but let's actually check. My source address here we can see is IPv6, so apparently I have IPv6 enabled on my network card, and nothing happens here. So here we actually can see how it looks when it failed. So it says TCP didn't go through on this port 22, it failed. And so it will actually try a bit more, and if I remember right, it will maybe swap over to at least check if the ping is working. And we can see 22 did fail. So here we can see the TCP for port 22 failed, but then it also tried to ping it, and that actually worked. So that's it for the TNC, and I'm going to show you these commands, the top 5 that I use the most, and different scenarios like this. And then I will actually show you 2 bonus ones in the end, so stick to the end. The next one I think most of you will actually recognize, and that is IPconfig. So this will show you the IP configuration of your network's adapters. So for example, here is my VLAN adapter. I have a IPv6 address. I have also the IPv4 address like this, the subnet mask, and my default gateways. So it's a kind of simple command to list all your adapters, and if you do a /all flag, you will get even more information, like for example DNS servers, and you actually even have some you can see your DHCP lease times and stuff like that, so it's really good to check all your IPconfig. And if you, for example, want to send it to someone, or is it another computer and want to save it, you can do what's called a pipe and then type clip. So what we actually did now was to put it in our clipboard. So I will open up Notepad just to show you. If I paste it here, we have the whole IPconfig/all in our clipboard. So you can do that with all different types of command. Just for IPconfig, it's actually quite useful because it's a lot of information and maybe you just want to save it quite easily. You can also do, for example, you release your DHCP address with IPconfig and also renew it. So maybe you change something in your DHCP range, or you think maybe there is actually something wrong with the DHCP server and you want to try and release your old IP address and get a new one. And this is very good, for example, if you are remoting to a PC, maybe you are helping a friend via TeamViewer or something. It can be quite tricky, because if you release their internet address, their IP address, you will drop the connection. So what you want to do usually in most cases is to combine this with the IPconfig renew. And how you did this in old CMD was to put two symbols like this. But that doesn't work in PowerShell, so you type it like this, semicolon, and you put renew after. So first you release it and then you renew it. So we can try this. And I have to type it right if I am going to have a successful command. So I will type it again. And here we can see it actually released it and renewed it. What you also can do with IPconfig is you can find information in it. If, for example, you do /all and it's a lot of information, you can do another pipe like this and type find str for find string. And then if you are, for example, curious about the lease time, we can see that, yeah, here it hits on lease. And we can see that I only have 1 hour of lease time on my DHCP server. And yeah, the time now when I'm recording is actually 15 minutes past 7, so that is correct. Okay, so the next stuff you can do with IPconfig is, for example, you can display the DNS records for your environment. So this is the DNS cache. So here we can also you can do a pipe here. So for example, if I want to look for maybe AMD or something like that, we have find str, and I didn't find anything here, but maybe Microsoft. We can see maybe if we try something that I actually know is in the cache. What does it say above here? MOS GCP. So yeah, that is probably some Mozilla Firefox stuff. So there you can actually look in your DNS cache. Alright, that's it for IPconfig. Let's go over to the Netstat command. So if we type just Netstat as it is, it will do a live feed on established and waiting connections on my PC. And yeah, it will also show internal programs and apps that are connecting via TCP and UDP. So it won't only be actually external connections. and this will take a bit of a time because it will try to do the DNS prompt for all the different records. But if we do netstat-a, we actually also get to see the listening state, which is very useful. For example, once again, for different services, if you are wondering, okay, is this service up and listening on this port? And yeah, here we can see that, for example, my computer is listening on 135.445 and some other ports, of course. And if we do a -a and n, it will actually not do the DNS lookups on each record, so it will be much faster. So here we just got the protocol, and you can see the local address and the foreign address and the state, so it will go very fast. So this is maybe, I think, the most common one, netstat -an. You can also put a B, and then it will actually try to figure out, it will try to tie the process ID towards the program. So here we can see, for example, yeah, here we have Firefox and some TeamViewer service. So that can be quite useful if you're unsure on what port the program is actually using. It will try to print it for you. So a very, very useful command for troubleshooting if a service or a program is actually listening on a port. The next one we are going to look at is NSLookup. So this is for looking up DNS records on your, for example, local domain DNS server, or you can actually specify the exact server that you want to use. If we only type NSLookup and hit enter, we will get into the NSLookup prompt. And once here we can type some commands, or actually we can input directly the address that we want to look up. So now we can type, for example, disney.com, and we will see that disney.com has this IP address, and I'm using an IPv6 address to look it up. For example, if you want to use a different server, you can type server, and let's say we want to use the Google DNS like this. So we type server, the Google DNS, and then we type disney.com again. So we can see the server we used was the Google DNS, and this was the IP address towards that DNS server, and disney.com resolves to this IP address. So when is this useful? It's useful, for example, if you are changing your both external and internal DNS and you want to make sure that it's actually pointing towards the right IP address. And if we, for example, go with, I think it's set type, we can do different DNS types. So I think this will set it to MX, which is the mail record. So here we can see if we do, for example, maybe reddit.com. Let's see if we can figure out what mail servers they are using. And yeah, so we are using the Google DNS to look up the MX record, which is the mail record for Reddit. And yeah, reddit.com, we can see that they are actually using Gmail. So that can be quite useful in some cases to know which provider they are using. I won't say much more than that. I think we can type exit to jump out of the NSLookup prompt, and now we are back to the ordinary PowerShell prompt. And I think you will recognize this command also. It's called ping, and if we just put in an IP, we will ping that one. It could be the Google DNS. Of course, it will do a reply. It's very reliable IP address. And maybe you are testing something out and you're plugging in cables and out cables of a server or something like that. Then you can add the flag -t, and by that it will continue to ping until you actually stop it. So this will continue in eternity until you stop it. So here we can, for example, press Ctrl+C and you will get out of this ping loop. Another great way with ping is that you can actually decide how much of a data packet you want to send. And when is this actually useful? Well, when you are dealing with VPNs, there could be some issue with your ISP home provider. Sometimes they encapsulate and the packet itself gets too large. So I will show you, maybe if you're troubleshooting, you can do -F to not fragment the packet and -L to actually set the length. So if we do ping, and again we can go with the Google DNS, FL, and here we will put the length. So the standard length is 1500, and the IP header, I think it takes about 20 bytes, and the ping header takes 8. So theoretically we should actually be able to use a size of 1472, and we can see that works. We are pinging with 1472. But maybe when you try this on over your VPN for your organization or company and you actually don't get the ping but you expect it, try to lower the value of the packet size. For example, often you can subtract 100, and that will make it fit into the VPN encapsulation. So if we do 1372, we can still ping. But instead, if we change back to 1472, but let's say 1475, this should actually not work. Yeah, we can see the packets are too large. It needs to be fragmented. But with the -F flag, we actually says do not fragment. We want to send whole package. So to recap, use this if you're troubleshooting the MTU size of your VPN. That was the top 5. I will now show you 2 bonus ones that I use sometimes, and that is the Netshell. And for example, on laptops that has a hard time to get a good signal, you can do Netshell, WLAN, int and show. I typed something wrong. Let's see what I typed wrong. Let's try again. Netshell, WLAN, enter, maybe in the wrong order, show int. Okay, there we got it. So Netshell, show, WLAN, int. We can see the name of the Wi-Fi adapter, and we can even see my SSID for my wireless internet. But one cool thing you can check here is actually what access point am I connected to. So here we can see AP BSSID, and this is the MAC address for my 5 GHz band on my access point. So I actually have a couple of access points in my house, and when I have some trouble I do this command, and also in my organization I can see that, okay, so this laptop is actually not very good at roaming, and you can adjust the settings maybe to be a bit more loose or a bit more strict with a roaming profile on your network card. So this is super useful to see what access point you're connected to, and of course you can see what different type of rates and radio type you can link up to. The last command I will show you is the arp-a, and this is to list known MAC addresses for your interface. So this is super useful, for example, if you're on a big switch or on a VLAN, to check, okay, is this VLAN actually being used at all? Are there any known MAC addresses here, or maybe I could shut it down? So, for example, here we can see that I have some, this is the broadcast address, this is some multicast, but here are actually some known IP addresses, for example, probably my router. Alright, so that was some useful network commands that I use on a daily basis when troubleshooting both my network at home and in my organization. Hope you liked it, hope you learned something, and leave a like and subscribe, and see you guys later. Bye bye.